The audio commentary. It's a dying art form, but here at One Track Mind, I, your wonky yet affable host Ryan Luis Rodriguez, analyze film through the prism of these embryonic forms of podcasting, one audio commentary at a time. Masterpieces, crapster pieces, live action, animation, cult classics, films literally no one has ever heard of. No track is too small, and no track is too big. Join me and my guests from the entertainment world as we keep these features alive every other Tuesday. Hey, who else is going to discuss Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey one week and Citizen Kane the next? Us, that's who. Sure, you have to put up with my voice, but there's a certain give and take in this industry. That's One Track Mind, part of the Someone's Favorite Productions family, and available wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you a film fan who loves the ultimate home video experience? Look no further than The Disconnected. Your host, Ryan Verrill, is your go-to source for the latest and most accurate information on home video releases, exclusive interviews with industry insiders and filmmakers, and has established a thriving community where every film and physical media enthusiast feels welcome. From hidden gems to blockbuster hits, The Disconnected brings you insider knowledge and a welcoming space to share your love of cinema. Watch every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific for the live announcements show and follow The Disconnected on social media to stay updated. Subscribe to The Disconnected on YouTube or on the podcast provider of your choice and dive into a world where every movie night is an adventure.
Welcome to the Kulturecast. I am your host, Chris Stachiw, and I am joined, as always, by a familiar face, Mr. Eric Kniss.
Hi.
I just keep looking all around me, and there are just so many familiar faces.
Oh, God damn it, no.
You got him. Oh, my.
Oh, no.
It's already begun. Good Lord.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So we're going to be talking about Donnie Darko today in keeping with our time travel movie month theme. It is a film that most people find to be unintelligible, but if you kind of know a little bit of the basics behind it and or have watched the director's cut of the film, which completely explains the film's time travel mechanics, then there's not a whole lot really left for analysis. The IMDb synopsis for the film is: a troubled teenager is plagued by visions of a man in a large rabbit suit who manipulates him to commit a series of crimes after he narrowly escapes a bizarre accident.
It was as though this plan had been with him all his life, pondered through the seasons. Now, in his 15th year, crystallized with the pain of puberty.
So, why'd you move here?
My mom had to get a restraining order against my stepdad. He has emotional problems.
Oh, I have those too. What kind of emotional problems does your dad have? I met a new friend.
Real or imaginary?
Wake up, Donnie.
Imaginary.
I'm going to tell you a little story today about a young man whose life was completely destroyed by these instruments of fear.
I haven't seen stuff.
Donnie is experiencing what is commonly called a daylight hallucination.
I have to obey him. He saved my life.
Have you ever seen a portal?
Has he ever told you about his friend Frank, the giant bunny rabbit?
The what?
Every living thing follows along a set path. And if you could see your path or channel, then you could see into the future, right?
I'm not going to be able to continue this conversation. Don't worry. You got away with it.
What is going to happen?
I only have a few days left before they catch me. When's this gonna stop? You should already know that.
By Richard Kelly. Richard Kelly would go on to direct such films as Southland Tales, The Box. This is his directorial debut. He had made 2 short films before this, but this is his directorial debut. Stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Maggie Gyllenhaal. Drew Barrymore produced the film and starred in front of the camera, which allowed them to get some bigger stars like Patrick Swayze. Eric, you picked this film. I'd seen this film countless times. What's kind of your take on this film? Why are we watching this film this month?
Well, it's time travel movie month, as you know. Yeah, I don't know. This movie is another one of those movies that, like, the first time I watched it, ever since the first time I watched this movie, it has stuck with me, in one way or another. God, I mean, when did this movie come out? This movie came out in like 2001, something like that.
It came out in 2001.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I probably didn't see it in 2001. I probably saw it a couple of years after that. So, yeah, I mean, give or take, it's been, maybe 15 or so years of me, like, thinking about this movie every once in a while and, like, going back and watching this movie. I don't know. It's a really interesting take on an interesting concept. I've always been fascinated by time travel and things like that. And that's why we're doing Time Travel Movie Month. But this movie has a really interesting and different take on it. Now, before watching the director's cut of this movie, which I don't think I'd ever seen it until this week. When I watched it, I'd only ever seen like the original theatrical cut where they don't really explain anything and you kind of have to glean all the information yourself, or as we'll probably get into a little bit more, all the sort of like alternate reality add-ons that they had on their website after the movie came out and on the DVD special features and all of that crazy shit. That they added after the fact to sort of give you, a full look at the Donnie Darko universe. But yeah, this movie, it's really interesting, man. The way that they do the sort of alternate dimensional parallel universes, like time travel thing as like a closed loop concept is, I don't know, it's really cool. I've always liked it. I've always thought it was really interesting, and it's really well made as well. So that's always a plus.
I saw this movie, I don't know, probably around the same time that you did, and I didn't see the director's cut. I saw the original version of the film, which, to be honest, I think that's the way to watch this movie.
Yeah, I agree. The director's cut, I feel like it's cool that it gives you all the mechanics for how the time travel works. But kind of like how I said before, you can watch the theatrical cut of this movie and figure out a lot of that stuff and then do a little bit of extra research on your own, now because it's been around for fucking, 16 years or whatever, a quick Google on this movie and you'll be able to figure out, exactly what the mechanics are and how everything works in about 30 seconds. But, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, when things weren't so instant, at least to the degree that they are now, it took a little bit of doing to like sort of, figure out exactly what was going on in this movie. And that's why I think I like the theatrical cut better.
It doesn't involve as much hand holding, and it also like pads out the length of the movie.
The director's cut does? Yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing that I didn't like about it.
It just adds a bunch of stuff that I think is unnecessary. And if you, like you said, if you really need this film explained to you, there is the internet. But I mean, I guess I understand the point of the director's cut. But for me, as someone who enjoys this film, I mean, I like this film. I don't love it. It's not like my favorite film that I've ever watched, but I understand the point of the director's cut. It also altered the soundtrack, which the intro song, I want to say, was
Yeah.
Echo and the Bunnymen?
It's a different song. Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, the intro song is The Killing Moon by Echo and the Bunnymen, and then it's changed to Never Tear Us Apart by In Excess, which is, it's really bad. You wouldn't think that the intro song being changed would be that big of a deal, but it's one of the worst things about this movie, changing that.
Yeah, it's a really iconic thing, too. The whole opening sequence having Killing Moon was like, when I watched the director's cut, I went, what?
Yeah.
Did I remember this movie wrong, like, for the last, 15 years? Or, what the fuck is happening? Has it been probably, I don't know, a couple of years since I've seen this movie? But, yeah, when I watched the director's cut, I was like, holy shit, that's weird. I don't think I like that.
Well, it's kind of strange because normally when you have a director's cut of a film, they don't change, soundtracks. They don't change, musical beats. And that, to me, is kind of odd.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was one of those things that he always wanted that song to be the, intro, first scene.
They had wanted that to be the intro song, but they couldn't get the...
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Rights to.
They couldn't get the rights, yeah.
So when he got the rights to it, they replaced The Killing Moon with Never Tear Us Apart by In Excess. So, yeah. And, I mean, it's probably not that big of a deal in reality, but it for people who enjoyed the film in its original state, it is very noticeable. Like myself, yourself.
Yeah. I definitely, I mean, did you watch both cuts of the movie, or did you just watch the director's cut?
I just watched the director's cut because I'd never seen the director's cut.
Yeah, me too. I'd never seen the director's cut, and so I watched the director's cut. And it's interesting because there's all these parts that you're like, I don't remember this. And those are the little extra parts. I think it's a good 20 minutes longer, maybe more.
It's 20 minutes longer. I mean, there's these weird interstitial time card things put in to explain the philosophy of time travel. It's just
But there's a bunch of other weird shots that are put in too. They change a bunch of stuff, where it's shots of it's almost like generic stock footage when Donnie is going into that weird time traveler-y state or whatever, and he starts having these weird visions. In the original cut, he would have visions of other parts of the world, or it would just cut to the next scene and you wouldn't get to see what his vision was. And in the director's cut, they have all these weird, it's stock footage of an eyeball and weird math text scrolling down part of the screen and other weird shit, and I'm just that's unnecessary to me. I don't need that.
So some of the fan theory stuff that I read online said that that was aliens.
Oh, that they're trying to be this is all orchestrated by aliens or something like that.
It's all orchestrated by a higher power. I mean, they say that multiple times in the film, that there is clearly some higher power going on. But that those director's cut scenes that you're talking about, that is further proof that it is aliens. Which, I mean,
I mean, maybe.
It makes sense.
But if you're going to have a director's cut that so blatantly explains what's going on in the movie, because it does, with those little cue cards that are basically just clips out of the book, the Roberta Sparrow book, The Philosophy of Time Travel or whatever, which is cool. That part of it I liked. I'm okay, cool. I get to see some of this book, in the context of the actual movie, and basically apply the book to what's happening in real time. That's cool to me. It's not quite as cool that it explains literally everything.
In my opinion, it really hurts the film. That was one of my favorite parts about this film when I first saw it, was you had to
figure it out. You had to put it together.
Yeah.
And you almost couldn't do it with just the movie alone. You had to do research outside.
And you had to make connections and talk to other fans of the film or people that have watched it. That's one of the things about this film that I did really like the first time I saw it was, man, it is a film that requires you to actually
think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm sure we're going to swing back to this a bunch of times when we talk about this movie, but like the website for the movie, like after it came out and everything, was like a big reason why I got so into this movie. You know, I watched the movie and then you go to this website and there's all these like secret things hidden all over the website that explain extra things about the movie that weren't in the movie originally.
And this is 2001. This is like, what, 7 years before the Dark Knight ARG like blew up the internet and the Cloverfield thing blew up the internet.
Yeah. So this is like this cool little after or even before thing. I mean, I don't know if it was up before the movie or if it came out after the movie or what, because I, came to the movie a couple years later. But this is like back before any of that stuff was like a really big deal. This is, I mean, yeah, the internet's a big deal in, 2003, 2004 when, I watched this movie. But it's like, this is before our entire lives revolved around being on the internet and being on our phones and being on the computer like every day, all day. And so to have this like extra thing that you had to go online and do a bunch of research and figure out like secret things, and you have to type in letters and numbers or, words in certain spots on the website to get to another page. And, you call up your friend and you're like, dude, I found another page. And he's like, me fucking too. And yeah, it's like this whole thing. And in that website, they gave you the pages that were shown in the director's cut. So without having to watch a fully explained to you movie, you got to find out all of the extra mechanics and all of the extra little tidbits that the director's cut just gives you for free. But you had to like actually get more involved in the movie, and in this universe in order to find out that stuff. And that to me is a whole lot better way to do it than the way that the director's cut presented it, which is here's everything explained in the movie. And the whole aliens thing to me, I don't know. I don't know if that's, I think if it was going to be overtly aliens, they would have said in the director's cut, oh yeah, by the way, this was all orchestrated by aliens.
No, I feel like you're right. But at the same time, like
they explained everything else.
Maybe they pulled back on that just a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe that was like the hard line that they weren't willing to cross.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, even, I don't know. It sounds like we're shitting on the director's cut, but it's not. I think for us, because it sounds like you and me had the same experience with this movie, it's really more of the experience that we had when we first watched this movie was such a profound and different experience from like anything else up to that point that we had experienced like with a movie, that now watching a version of the movie that sort of takes away from that experience is a bummer.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So it's not that the director's cut is necessarily worse. It's of the times now, which is kind of sad. Like if this movie were to come out now, it would probably be the director's cut that would get shown in the theaters and not the original cut of this movie, because the original cut of this movie is really good and it's really concise, and it doesn't, like, the director's cut feels long. It's 20 minutes longer than the original cut, but it's barely over 2 hours. Maybe it's 2 at the most. But I mean, the original movie, it's just like the events play out in such rapid succession, and they take you from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie in such like a concise and really streamlined way through this really convoluted and complicated, multi-dimensional parallel universe, like time travel story, that like by the end of the movie, you don't feel like you sat through a really complicated movie.
I think you're right though. Like the idea that this director's cut exists to help explain the movie to people.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Trust me, like I understand the point of this. I understand the benefits of having something like this. But at the same time, we don't need everything explained to us all the time. Ambiguity is a good thing, especially in like art. Film is art to some extent. It's subjective, especially what you get out of it. And so with them going and being like, well, here is how this works. Here is everything explained to you from A to Z, fucking from point B to point C to point D. Like everything's explained. Nothing is left up to the imagination or to personal interpretation that kind of takes the piss out of the movie.
Yeah. It's definitely not, it's not as cool for sure. Like that you're just given everything. It's definitely way cooler to, like I said, figure out all of this stuff, on your own, or sort of go through it and have to talk to somebody about it and not, just watch the movie and go, oh, that all makes sense. Like
most everything that if you watch the original cut of the film, you would have had questions about is explained away in the director's cut.
Yeah. And even watching the director's cut, like, I've literally never thought about aliens being involved in this movie ever until you just said it 5 minutes ago. And even watching the director's cut, I'm still like, it's kind of a stretch. Like, so, I don't know.
I don't think it's much of a stretch, only because there's clearly more going on in the film, right?
Yeah, there's clearly more going on, yeah. Whether or not it's aliens is sort of like, up to interpretation, I suppose, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Like, again, even though the director's cut, essentially, like we said, just completely...
Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies. Inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production podcast network. We hope to see you online.
Takes the piss out of this ambiguity that the film has just on its own. It really does suck that it's just like, yeah, well, now it could be aliens if you want to interpret it that way, as opposed to just a higher power.
I mean, obviously there were people ahead of time before the director's cut came out that were like, dude, it's aliens. So you can have it either way.
Well, it's always
I
aliens.
Suppose. Yeah, it's always alien. And Arnold is in every movie, so he is somewhere.
Where was he?
He's somewhere in the Donnie Darko universe. That's what we really need to be talking about.
Just hanging out.
Where is Arnold in all of this? Where he just didn't time travel fast enough to save Donnie Darko.
That's the other thing. Okay, so let's talk about that. So the whole end of the film hinges on, or I guess the whole film hinges on him
closing the loop. And so this exists by him being essentially picked at random by the higher power to fix the universe, because if he doesn't fix the universe, the tangent universe and the prime universe will essentially fold in on themselves. Yes, correct? But I mean, I don't know. You can make the argument that like he wasn't chosen at all, and this is just like a random thing.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you could say it's a higher power, or you could say it's random.
Yeah. So anyways, Donnie Darko is now sort of like at the center.
He's the chosen one.
Yeah, he is what do they call it? The manipulated vessel.
Living receiver, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, there's all the...
He's the living receiver, and then there's the manipulated dead, who is his girlfriend, and then the Frank the Bunny character. And then there's the manipulated living, who are all working unbeknownst to them to help him achieve his goal of fixing the universe, so that fixing the tangent universe, so that the prime universe doesn't get destroyed.
Basically, yeah. So it's like, if they don't reconcile, this like split between these dimensions or universes, then the tangent universe or alternate universe will collapse in on the primary universe and basically destroy both.
Yes. And the tangent universe is where most of the film takes place. And also the tangent kind of against a lot of the stuff that I've read, but there were a couple things that I read that I forgot the name of the website, and I'll post it in the podcast description, but one of the ideas was that the tangent universe begins when he leaves his bedroom that evening to evade being crushed by the jet engine, but that's not actually the case. It's already because the tangent universe is already existing, because how could it not already be existing considering how Frank the Bunny's already there? See, he's already in the tangent universe before the jet engine would have gone through his bedroom.
Well, yeah, he's kind of, I've always seen it as like, yeah, Frank the Bunny lures Donnie out of the situation to like save Donnie.
Well, yeah, because he has to be alive to fix the universe.
Right. And so yeah, I suppose you're right that the tangent universe would have had to have started before that point.
Yes. Yeah, it does. The tangent universe he's already in the tangent universe when at the onset of kind of him leaving his bedroom and going on to the golf course.
So I guess there's no like clear point where they're like, this is exactly where the tangent universe
when he wakes up in the middle of the night and Frank the Bunny lures him outside, he's already in the tangent universe.
Yeah, so I mean,
it just kind of happens. There's not like any grand fanfare as to when it happened. That's correct.
Yeah. So yeah, at that point, he is in the tangent universe. It could happen 5 minutes before he woken up. It could happen a day before that, or whenever. There's no clear representation of when the split occurred. Right. Okay. And then so he gets drawn out by Frank to the fucking golf course, and Frank sort of explains in really cryptic, vague detail that the world's going to end.
Right. And that is very deliberate the way that he does it, because imagine if you were told by someone that, you have to save the universe, and here's what.
Oh yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of it is like, you have
to watch this movie more than once to really pick up on a lot of the stuff that you would have missed the first time you watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of the other thing about all this, right? Is Frank is the manipulated dead, and he wants to make sure that he doesn't die in the Prime universe. So he makes sure that Donnie saves the universe, because if Donnie saves the universe, he doesn't die. But in the tangent universe, he's already dead.
Yes.
But he's going back to make sure that he dies, because that's the only way that he can ensure that the universe exists, is to make sure that he dies. Just like he has to make sure that Donnie's girlfriend dies as well, played by Jenna Malone.
Right. Or that she doesn't die.
No, that she does die. He has to make sure that she dies, because that's the whole insurance trap that they talk about towards the end of the film, is that there has to be a reason. There has to be a reason that Donnie has to kill himself. And that...
Well, there has to be a reason that Donnie kills Frank. And the reason that Donnie kills Frank is because Frank runs Gretchen over.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, the insurance trap is there has to be a reason for Donnie to want to kill himself. And he has nothing to live for, because he's essentially a fugitive at the end of the film.
Right. Well, yeah. And Donnie is the one who he has to close the loop. And in order to close the loop, he has to be in his room when the fucking engine falls out of the sky.
He has to manipulate the jet engine back to fall on himself.
Right, exactly.
Because he has like superhuman powers too, on top of everything else.
Kind of, yeah.
Well, he does. I mean, he's able to bury an axe into a giant like bronze sculpture. It's implied that he has the ability to like manipulate fire, and also possibly he has the ability to manipulate some aspects of his surroundings, because he is the reason that the jet engine falls off the plane, because he pulls it off.
Yeah, and
He makes the jet engine fall off the plane.
See, that I've never picked up on, even in the director's cut version, that it was him that was causing the... I always thought it was just like, the convergence, like at the end of the movie, and you see like the sky's getting all fucking crazy, and you see that sort of like tornado that's like in the middle of town or whatever.
Well, no, that's the portal opening up to the other world. That's the portal opening up to the Prime universe in the tangent universe. And that's how he manipulates the engine to fall off.
Right. So the engine, that's why they can't figure out where that engine is coming from, because it's actually coming from
a universe that does not exist anymore.
And that's why they can't find it, because he's pulling the engine off of the plane that his mom and his sister are on, coming back from, you know, whatever, some dance competition. And that's the engine that falls into his room. But then when he's back in his room at the end of the movie, it closes that loop. So you have the whole engine thing falls, but still there's no plane for that engine to come from.
Right. And that's the other thing about this movie that I think is, again, misinterpreted. And having read some of the online fan theories, I would agree with it. And it's kind of an interesting idea that they never really go into in the director's cut, thankfully. Donnie doesn't have to die, because he's already been returned to the Prime Universe at the end of the film. So everything's been fixed. So he doesn't have to die.
No?
No, he does. Why would he? The universe is already fixed, clearly. He's back in the universe.
But what makes you say that he's back in the universe?
Because he is. Because at the end of the film, you see... So that's the thing. You never see him return to his bedroom in the Tangent Universe, because when you see him in his bedroom at the end of the film, that's back in the Prime Universe. He manipulates a plane engine to fall in the Tangent Universe onto himself in the Prime Universe. You never see him return to his bedroom in the Tangent Universe, because he's on the run. So what ends up happening in the film is he makes the engine fall on himself, and he could have left his bedroom and not died. But I think it was just he didn't care anymore. I think he came to some sort of grand realization about his place in the universe and kind of just went, okay.
But then there's that whole thing about, like, if he leaves the room, does that cause a split again?
No, because remember, he's already in the Tangent Universe at the beginning of the film without leaving his bedroom.
Okay.
That's the whole thing that I'm like, if you're listening to this podcast and you're having issues understanding this film, that's like the one thing that really needs to be impressed upon you, is that the part of the film where he is lured out of his bedroom by Frank the Bunny, he is already in the Tangent Universe. So him leaving his bedroom doesn't start the Tangent Universe. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So
but then
he didn't have to leave his bedroom. The Tangent Universe existed without him leaving his bedroom. But the reason Frank the Bunny lured him out was because he was the only one who could fix it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But then my question is, then why doesn't he just, why does he get the engine off of the plane in the first place?
Because the engine is the artifact that, they talk about this artifact, right?
Yeah. That's right.
And it's made out of metal. And that is how the alternate universe is created. And that's how the 28 days, exist, is because of this artifact. But like at the end of the film, when he's in his bed laughing, he has had visions of the Tangent Universe, and he just lets himself die. Maybe because he's closer to his creator, maybe because he's content with life, maybe he has no interest in living, or maybe he's not afraid to die anymore. And the engine,
or maybe he just doesn't know what's going to happen.
No, he knows. That's the thing. Like, he has an idea, because like at the end of the film, you see other characters have visions of the Tangent Universe as well.
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze's character is crying. Frank the Bunny, the guy who's in the Frank the Bunny suit, is touching his eye.
Yeah.
That Donnie shot him through.
Yep.
Maybe he didn't want to survive because he saw what happened to Roberta Sparrow, who was also a living receiver at one point in a prior Tangent Universe. I mean, she essentially became like a crazy person.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what happens to living receivers if they survive, is they become like insane. Yeah, maybe that's why. That's another reason.
Yeah, maybe.
But again, that's what's so great about watching this film. The normal version is that's left up to interpretation, and even the director's cut, it's still left up to interpretation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the whole like because like that's the huge point of contention with this film, right? Is when did the Tangent Universe start and what caused it?
They don't really tell you what caused it.
Right, but if reading some of these online theories is kind of what I'm going off of, the Tangent Universe is already existing in the Tangent Universe before Frank the Bunny gets him out of his bed. So he doesn't have to die. He just chooses to die, which I think is a much more interesting ending anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
Because him choosing to die rather than just dying because he has to, I think is a much more profound analysis and a much more profound idea than just being like, well, I have to die.
Yeah.
Choosing to die, even though you don't have to. Choosing to die, even though that's not going to save, like him dying doesn't change the fact that the universe is saved. He saves the universe.
Yeah.
I think that's, for me, that's a much more profound character beat. And it makes Donnie Darko less of a tragic character and more of a heroic character.
Yeah.
For me. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I've never thought about, when the Tangent Universe was created and how that started. And I guess I kind of always just thought, the universe started, the Tangent Universe split off when the engine fell into Donnie's room. But I guess it would have to start before then. Yeah. I mean, otherwise you don't have Frank the Bunny.
Right. It's never explained how tangent universes happen.
No.
It's never explained where the tangent universe comes from. And that for me is like one of the biggest points of contention among fans is, where does the tangent universe come from? It doesn't matter where the tangent universe comes from.
It just happens, and then you have to fix it.
It's a thing. Yeah, and then someone has to fix it. Like that's what it is. So there you go. I mean, and a lot of people probably don't like that explanation, but that's the one that I would agree with and believe, is that it just happens. Why does there have to be an explanation?
And that whole thing, if we're going to think about it that way, then the whole explanation of there being a higher power involved in it, to me, goes out the window, because
the higher power has a vested interest in the universe returning to normalcy.
I mean, yeah, but so does everything else in existence.
Right, but again, I think that the director's cut of the film doesn't help there's not a higher power conversation.
I mean, I don't know. I'm watching the director's cut of the film. I never thought once during watching it that there was a higher power controlling the whole situation.
Except in those scenes with the eye with those weird numbers and shit.
But I thought that was just like weird filler bullshit. Like, I didn't, think that was a higher power.
But the problem is everything in this movie is done for a reason.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I understand that completely, but at the same time, like, you can't just discount it because, it could just be bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Well, I think we've kind of beaten this horse to death. So, I mean, I'm not sure.
Oh, man.
We've been talking about this.
Yeah, I mean, God, yeah, we barely even talked about like the movie at all. We're just talking about like conceptually how the movie, I mean, yeah, we're talking about the movie, but we're just talking about the movie in context to like the way that the time travelers work.
Which, let's be honest here, that's the exciting part of the film. The performances are good, but it's the questions that the film asks that are much more important and interesting than just the film itself. So what would you give this film out of 5?
I'd give this movie like a 4.5 out of 5. The original cut of the movie. Yeah. Not the director's cut. Yeah. I think a lot of that has to do with like the experience that I had when I first watched this movie and, like figuring out all of this stuff and, learning about the universe and like trying to like put together the whole time travel and, like tangent universe, stuff. But yeah. I really, really like this movie, and this movie is really, really, really interesting. The universe that was created. I'd be really interested to see another movie like this from the director. I mean, The Box is really similar in sort of feeling and tone to this movie. It's just not done quite as well, and it's way more complicated.
Well, and also let's not forget here that Richard Kelly has said he wants to make another film in this universe.
In the Donnie Darko universe.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there a fucking like a sequel that came out?
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
I never saw it.
It was terrible. So.
Wasn't it about the sister or something?
About the sister with the same actress who played the younger sister, not the older sister.
Right. Yeah.
Not good. Not really not good. I would give this film like a 4 out of 5. Yeah. It's a good film that doesn't get. I don't feel like this film gets overburdened by the time travel. And it's not really time travel. It's more like alternate universe, tangent universe, kind of like Primer.
Well, no, Primer is like full on time travel.
Right, but
like
also,
there's no alternate universes. Like,
right,
it's
but
just...
also like you could say like alternate universes are part of time travel anyways because of just the way that time travel in a lot of these movies works.
True. Well, yeah, because you're changing things that have already happened. So you have all these alternate timelines. So if you think about it that way, then you're just creating alternate realities every time you travel back in time.
Right.
And Primer is a really insane example of that because there's like, an unknowable amount of timelines. This movie kept it a little simpler and there's just one loop that has to be, sort of fixed.
What do you think this film has on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, I'm sure it's got something in like the 80s somewhere. I'd say like 86, 87.
86%.
Bam!
Richard Kelly's debut feature, Donnie Darko, is a daring original vision packed with jarring ideas and intelligence and featuring a remarkable performance from Jake Gyllenhaal as a troubled title character. I mean... This movie kind of made Jake Gyllenhaal. So he's young in this film. He's super young. So, before we talk about next week's Kulturecast. Eric, anything you want to plug?
Nothing big going on. You can just follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Psychomagnetic. Yeah, new Wavoka stuff is coming soon, and I'll tell you about it when it happens.
And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Kulturestash. We are on all podcast apps, iOS, Android, and Zune. So check us out on those. We'd love for you to listen to some of our 200 plus backlog episodes. There are some really good ones. There's some really interesting ones, and there are a lot of really good interviews that we did with some people from those films. Patreon.com/culture_shock is where you can go to kick a couple dollars our way. Every little bit helps to allow us to keep creating fantastic content for you, the listener, and our readers over at cultureshocked.com.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.